Friends often wonder if men and women can join the survival show together. This episode gives the answer. A young man from China joins the co-ed survival for the first time. He's also the first Chinese to do so. To support him, the crew broke protocol and switched his partner midway. The 21 days were emotionally intense. It made him want to do it again. This young man is named Zhuang with no wilderness experience at all, just like you. He joined the challenge not for the $10,000 prize, but just to seek excitement. His first female partner was named Holly. Before joining, she trained for survival at home, but had no real experience. She was only 23 years old. Young people like that often seek thrills, so undressing happened very quickly. Seeing Holly walking from afar, Zhuang instantly lost his composure. The foreign girl was pretty attractive. When Holly saw such a handsome guy, her gaze also became flustered. From their conversation, it's clear they were both very pleased with each other, but they didn't talk too much. They still had time to get to know each other gradually. First, they had to find shelter quickly. The African savanna was no joke. This land belongs to the wild. Each year, thousands face danger from hippos. Without a safe spot, it's easy to become a lion's dinner. But the area was too vast, and they couldn't find a suitable campsite quickly. Seeing the sun set, darkness was coming. They had no choice but to stop and use a big tree as their shelter. Now they needed to hurry and light a fire before it got completely dark to feel some safety. The weather here was quite dry. Starting a fire didn't take much effort. Building a shelter was clearly impossible. Zhuang planned to go to the river for water, but seeing hippos on the shore, he turned back. Because she hadn't had any water all day, Holly was severely dehydrated and nauseous all night. Time passed to the second day. Even though she had already rehydrated in the morning, Holly still felt weak, dizzy, and lightheaded. Zhuang wanted her to go with him to find food, but she didn't want to move. Reluctantly, Zhuang had to go alone. He was so proactive because he wanted to find food to help Holly recover. It was only the first day, and he didn't want her to give up so soon. There were many marula trees here. Their fruit is rich in sugar, with 8 times the vitamin C of oranges. It's also a food source for many animals, especially baboons. Seeing him casually take food, the baboons quickly got agitated and almost attacked. But Zhuang didn't care at all, he just ate his fill first. After gathering all the fruit, he happily ran back to camp. He immediately offered the fruit to Holly, but Holly couldn't eat it. She found it too sour. Zhuang planned to find other fruit for her, but Holly said she wanted to talk first. She might withdraw. Hearing that, Zhuang became anxious. So troublesome. It's only the second day and she already wanted to give up. Then why did she join the challenge in the first place? Holly felt unwell and could hardly continue. Zhuang kept begging Holly to stay. Without her, this challenge was meaningless. But Holly firmly decided to leave, leaving Zhuang frustrated. How could he play alone? Left by himself, he felt completely bored. He probably wouldn't last more than 2 days and would have to give up too. Eventually, Holly informed the film crew. Seeing the pretty girl about to leave, Zhuang felt deeply regretful. Without a partner, Zhuang stayed up the whole night. Time passed to the third day. After a long, lonely night, just as Zhuang was thinking of survival strategies, the crew brought him good news. Feeling sorry for his sleepless night, they specially found him a new partner to start over. This made him overjoyed, hoping the new partner would stay until the end. This new partner was no ordinary person. She was Amber, 32, a US military trainer, and this was her second time participating. Last time, she lasted 16 days, but had to withdraw due to stomach pain. This time, she was determined to redeem herself, win the prize, and maybe find a boyfriend too. Same meeting place, but the feeling was completely different. Although she was older, she had an exceptional body to make up for it. He found out this was her second time participating. With experience already, things became easier. Then Zhuang took Amber back to the old camp, but Amber didn't like the place Holly used to stay. She didn't want to use old stuff, wanted to start fresh with Zhuang, and requested a change of location. Zhuang of course agreed. With a companion, anywhere would do. The two of them found a wide open area ahead, planning to use fallen trees to build a shelter. Seeing Amber's positive attitude, Zhuang felt quite satisfied and even shared some fruit. But Amber still found it too sour. To save face for Zhuang, she clenched her teeth and finished it. That night, her stomach started acting up, cramping painfully. She worried she'd have to quit like last time, only hoping to feel better by morning. Time passed to the second day. Zhuang walked around and found waste near the camp. Didn't take a genius to know it was Amber's. He questioned why she didn't go farther, or at least cover it up. Staying close like that would attract flies and create bacteria. Amber explained her stomach had hurt the night before, and she couldn't hold it in, so she went nearby and didn't have time to deal with it. But Zhuang's interrogative tone made Amber angry. Though angry inside, she still cleaned up diligently. Just after she finished, it started pouring. Because of the makeshift shelter, the two were soaked like rats all night. The next morning, they were exhausted and freezing. Zhuang suggested gathering materials to improve their shelter, or they'd catch a cold sooner or later. But Amber told him to go alone. She just wanted to rest. Clearly, she was still holding a grudge about yesterday. Zhuang skillfully persuaded her, explaining the pros and cons. Finally, Amber agreed to go find palm leaves with him. As they neared camp, they saw monkeys lingering around. They were startled. These monkeys were clearly there to steal fruit. As expected, the fruit was nearly all gone. The ones left behind were half-eaten. The two were extremely discouraged. There was no way to find food immediately. To survive, they had to eat what the monkeys left. Time quickly passed to the 7th day. Since losing the fruit, they hadn't had a proper meal. This couldn't go on. Amber decided to teach Duong how to make a spear and catch fish in the swamp. There were fish, but the technique was poor. All day passed, and they still found nothing. On the 8th day, Amber felt unwell. She had had breast surgery. Last night, she noticed fluid leaking, and now it was extremely painful. Duong worried she might quit and tried to reassure her not to overthink it. He didn't notice anything unusual about her chest, aside from the surgery. Looking at the sky full of dark clouds, heavy rain was coming. The two decided to find materials to reinforce their shelter, hoping to sleep better that night. Duong asked Amber to bring more dry grass, but she refused, saying her chest hurt. This made Duong angry. He thought she used to be a soldier. How could a little pain make her just sit around while he did everything? Amber believed Duong should do more because he was a man. She thought it was only natural. She even called him a child, always fussy and calculating. The two argued on the spot. Amber felt that arguing wouldn't help and suggested they talk it out calmly. She explained her chest hurt too much today. She couldn't do anything even if she wanted to. She also sincerely apologized to Duong for speaking too harshly. Seeing her sincerity, Duong didn't hold it against her. They made peace again. Time passed to the 9th day. Amber's chest was still in severe pain. After quitting last time, a health check revealed many parasites. If they'd waited longer, it could have been risky. She feared the chest pain might get worse, so she left early. That left Duong discouraged. How could he go on alone? With both girls quitting, he wondered if they didn't like him. But he had already persisted for many days. Even without a companion, he had to keep going, at least to receive the prize. But at night, it was definitely lonely and hard to sleep with no one by his side. Time passed to day 10. After a night of thinking, Duong decided not to waste energy thinking about them anymore. The main task was to find food. Taking advantage of the remaining energy, he wove a fish trap and dropped it into the water. This was the result of much effort, and he hoped it would yield something. Time quickly passed to day 14. Until now, he hadn't had any protein at all. Today, the trap was still empty, but he didn't sit around waiting for fish. Every day he used a spear to catch fish, but still got nothing. By day 17, he was so hungry his ribs were visible, and he felt dizzy even standing up. At that point, he urgently needed protein, but the fish trap was still empty. However, this guy had very high endurance. Though tired, he spent the entire day fishing in the river. By sunset, he still hadn't seen a single fish. Before returning to the shelter, he checked the trap one last time. This time, he finally got lucky and caught 2 small fish, enough to keep going until the end. He was overjoyed. Having meat for the first time in half a month, he ate it all, bones and flesh. Time passed to day 21. He got up early from the blanket. Today was the day to leave. He had to cross the swamp to reach the extraction point. The extraction point was a dirt road. Although the swamp had crocodiles and hippos, in the end, he had to risk everything to move forward. To quickly escape the danger zone, he didn't dare stop for even a minute. Fortunately, everything ended well, and he successfully reached the extraction point. From there, he alone received the prize. Watching this far, do you feel intrigued? Not only is there prize money, but also a companion. Take action now. Oh my god, are we really doing this? That's right, let's keep going. This is a wild survival challenge full of drama. For those who love survival, this is definitely exciting news. A strange man and woman survive for 21 days without clothes. Those who persist until the end receive $100,000. Many people wonder if it's really free. The answer is yes. This couple experienced it firsthand. Looking at the male contestant Steven's face, you can tell he's no ordinary guy. He claims to be a performance artist who likes doing things no one has done before. He has no real skills, just came looking for a thrill. This time, he's up against female contestant Shalise. Other than running marathons, she really has no survival skills. As for not wearing clothes, she wasn't shy at all. She was always the first to show off her clam at pool parties. Can't even remember how many have admired it. Clearly another thrill seeker. And there's money, why not? When the two met, Steven immediately asked how she felt. Shalise bluntly said she hadn't seen her little friend in a while, and now just thinking about it made Steven flustered. It seemed this challenge would bring many surprises. Shalise hoped they could be open with each other. That would make it more fun and help them finish it. They pulled out the survival map. They were now in the southern US wilderness. Big day-night temperature shifts, constant rain and wind. Coyotes, bears, venomous snakes, and black widows were scariest, so they followed the dirt road to the western river. But first, they had to pass the dense forest ahead. It was full of thorns. Shalise got pricked and screamed. It felt like her chest was stabbed. Thankfully, their fun distracted Shalise. They also discussed sleeping without clothes around strangers. Steven said he usually did it, could cuddle all day. Shalise said she was okay with it too, especially with someone as attractive as Steven, her exact type. Time passed, and the sky gradually darkened. The two decided to set up camp near the stream, finding a wide clearing in the forest. Due to limited time, they only made a basic sleeping area. The most important task now was to start a fire. The weather was fairly dry today. Starting the fire wasn't difficult, and they succeeded on the first try. Because the sleeping area was too simple, at night the sounds of roaring animals were constant. The two weren't in the mood to do anything else, always staying alert. By the second day, to sleep more comfortably, they decided to reinforce the shelter and build surrounding walls. They were finally able to sleep well, but the nights here were too cold, and cuddling wasn't enough to stay warm. Shalise laid entirely on top of Steven, but since they were still getting to know each other, on the second night, Steven was on top with no further progress. By the fourth day, the two decided to go look for food. On the way, they discovered a yucca plant, which not only provided carbohydrates, but whose roots could also be made into soap. But they had to peel the skin, crush it, and dry it. During the process, Shalise accidentally cut her hand. She called for the medic right away. This made Steven feel very distressed, holding her and comforting her non-stop. Fortunately, the wound wasn't serious. After a simple treatment, the medic told her to be more careful and avoid water contact. So she decided to hand over bathing duties to Steven, asking him to help her out. Steven was overjoyed. Now he could happily help her. He then began making soap, washed her hair, and bathed her. Moved by Steven's thoughtful care, Shalise said she would repay him well. Time passed to the 5th day. They still hadn't had a proper meal and urgently needed protein, but after patrolling the area, they found nothing. At night, they were even harassed by wolves. Several days of poor eating and restless sleep left Shalise nearly exhausted. Luckily, Steven stayed persistent and even crafted a spear. There were many deer and wild boar tracks around. If they caught one, they wouldn't have to worry about food anymore. In the blink of an eye, it was the 10th day. The two of them set out early, carrying the spear. On the way, Steven spotted a marsupial in a tree. He immediately rushed over and struck it down with the spear. Now they could finally have a filling meal. Perhaps due to poor cooking skills, the taste was awful and left them discouraged. So much effort, so many calories burned, and nothing to show for it. By day 13, as usual, the two went into the forest to look for food. Just then, Steven noticed movement ahead. Looking closely, it was a rattlesnake. This was a protein source that came to them. He quickly told Shalise to back away, pinned the snake's head with a stick, then chopped it off. This brave move amazed Shalise. How could a man that courageous not be lovable? He then quickly skinned the snake. Seeing the snake's heart still beating, Steven didn't hesitate to put it in his mouth. Shalise felt disgusted, but Steven didn't see it that way. It was nutritious. He needed to build up energy for something big. And the snake skin had even greater use, dried to make a pouch. Now everything was ready, just waiting for the right moment. Then the two prepared a grand snake meat meal, much better than the marsupial. After eating, they felt revived, but still hadn't done anything. Perhaps they were waiting for the right time. Heaven was watching. Several days of heavy rain extinguished their fire. With the humid environment, restarting the fire wasn't easy. At night, they shivered from the cold. At that moment, the opportunity came. Nature gave them a reason. To stay warm, the two began moving to generate heat. Time passed to the 18th day. They decided they still needed to rekindle the fire. After all, there were things that only needed to be done once. They couldn't go days without a fire. Shalise found some pine resin. After 7 times of striking flint, the fire finally ignited. They hadn't eaten in days and burned energy the night before. Instead of saving energy, they chose to wait for the final day. Day 21 came quickly and they finally headed home. The map said they must cross a stream to reach a mountain tree. That was the final pickup point. After hours of struggle, they reached it by noon. The pickup vehicle also arrived right on time. They had completed the challenge. As they got in, Shalise said she'd always remember Steven's brother, making him proud. Are you feeling jealous watching this? Don't hesitate, take action now. People say I radiate a seductive charm. Can you feel it? Ha ha ha. I can't take it anymore. This isn't the partner I wanted. Many friends want to try wild survival challenges. Not for money, but for new thrilling experiences. What if your partner was like this? What would you do? That's what happened to the bearded guy. Before, the oldest brother met a trans person who faked illness to leave. Now the youngest meets a strong black woman, and his quitting reason is even weirder. In the forest, he claimed he couldn't find firewood and asked to leave. Leaving the woman stunned, couldn't he make a better excuse? This time, the unlucky guy is Jeremy. He joined for the unique experience, not the $100,000 prize. He only wished for a partner he liked. Then came the female lead. Shenika, 32, joined for a simple reason. People said it was only for white folks. She ignored that. She wanted to shake up the game as a black woman. She wasn't scared of survival. She thought it made her stronger. Anyone who met her would be drawn to her bold charm. When they met, Shenika was very open. Without waiting, she twirled Jeremy around, then flaunted her body, leaving him stunned. At least she could have asked if he wanted to see it. Seeing her strong figure, Jeremy panicked inside. Without a word, he pulled out their survival gear. They had mosquito repellent, a jungle knife, and flint from the crew. Shenika slowly unfolded the map. Jeremy grew impatient. He just wanted to finish and go home. The map said they were in southern Mexico's rainforest. Centuries ago, Mayans and native tribes lived here. The area is both mysterious and tough. There are strong winds, rain, jaguars, snakes, and bugs. So they aimed for the forest stream. It had fresh water and fewer animals. Don't let Shanika's size fool you, she was fast. Don't be fooled by Shanika's large build. Her speed wasn't slow at all. She was Jamaican. By evening, they finally reached the stream. The two planned to use nearby bamboo to build a shelter. But at that moment, Shanika discovered a dome-shaped tree. This was exactly a natural shelter. They just needed to build a roof along the tree's spine, much sturdier than building one from scratch. Then the two started dividing tasks. Jeremy cut bamboo. Shanika gathered materials for the roof. With her positive work attitude, Jeremy was very satisfied. But he still seemed a bit gloomy, only using work to distract himself. Shanika had her own thoughts about this too. Cutting bamboo already took a lot of energy. He was using up too much strength. How would he last 21 days? Work and rest had to be balanced. This was a long-term battle. She didn't want to quit halfway. She quickly stepped forward and explained the downsides to Jeremy. She suggested building an elevated bed first. Whatever was missing could be added later. Jeremy agreed too. They were still a team and had to respect each other's views. Shanika seemed the most hardworking among all teams. She never stood idle, always doing something. With both working together, the bamboo bed was done fast. It was dark when they finished, no time left to make fire. Rain poured heavily again that night. Cold and bug-bitten, they couldn't sleep. It was now the second day. They left early from the shelter. Today's key goal was to make fire. Nights without it were too harsh, but the earlier rain left nothing dry to use. Jeremy ran back to the bamboo forest. Morning sun had dried some bamboo bark there. He scraped shavings and laid them under the sun. Shanika stayed active too, singing and collecting wood. Fire ants were everywhere in this damp place. Their bites stung badly. Jeremy cried out. His feet were burning and itchy. If not treated, he feared he couldn't go on. Shanika told him to apply wet mud. It helped right away. The method worked great. They both quickly coated themselves in mud. It blocked ant bites and repelled bugs. Back at camp, ants were all over. Jeremy panicked instantly. The mud layer would fall off soon. But in the rainforest, the air was also humid. Even the bamboo shavings dried in the sun were still damp. The fire wouldn't ignite. Jeremy grew angry and started shouting, clearly frustrated. Shanika couldn't take it anymore and urged him to stay calm. Don't get discouraged over small things. Starting a fire requires persistence. Then she took matters into her own hands. After 9 strikes of the flint, she finally got a small flame. But the hard-earned flame was blown out by Jeremy. He believed the fire-starting material was too wet, nothing would work. They had to prepare dry materials first before starting a fire. After doing all that, they had wasted too much time. Now it was dark again, and they couldn't make fire anymore. Heavy rain fell again that night. The two had to endure the cold once more. Time passed to the third day. Although they still couldn't make fire, they decided to do something to prevent body heat loss. They cleared the area around the shelter to let sunlight in. That would help the camp dry out and allow them to sunbathe and dry fire-starting materials. Since cleaning required a knife, Shanika, having some free time, offered to go out and find food. She had barely entered the forest when she found many ice cream beans, rich in carbohydrates and sugar. Their nutritional value was dozens of times higher than beef, and they didn't need to be cooked. She gathered them all and brought them back to camp. It had to be said, Shanika was very kind. She patiently showed Jeremy how to eat ice cream beans. You only needed to eat the flesh inside the pod and spit out the seed. While they were enjoying their food, it suddenly started pouring rain. The rain came unexpectedly. Their new shelter hadn't been built at all, even though both worked with full effort. By nightfall, they had only laid one layer of bamboo, and the rain wouldn't stop. The two shivered from the cold. Time quickly passed to the 5th day. After 2 days of sun exposure, the fire-starting material was finally dry. The task today was to start a fire. Jeremy thought that if he couldn't get a fire going today, he'd definitely lose it. Shanika saw he was being too negative. You have to try first. Being negative makes success even harder. So she decided to light the fire herself. Now the fire-starting material was dry, even turning into powder. Sure enough, after just a few strikes, a flame appeared. Jeremy quickly moved to the pile of firewood. But when he blew on it, the fire went out. He thought it was because there wasn't enough wood. Seriously, with dry wood right in front of him, the fire still got blown out. Seeing Shanika dumbfounded, Jeremy complained that he was useless. Starting a fire was too difficult for him. He couldn't keep going. He intended to give up. Shanika couldn't hold back anymore. What kind of excuse was that? Leaving wasn't an option. You want a fire, right? Let me show you how it's done. If you truly want to stay, starting a fire isn't hard. When Shanika got the fire going, Jeremy was stunned. For now, there was no excuse to leave. As soon as the fire was lit, it started raining again. Because the roof was made of bamboo, the fire got wet. Shanika wanted to go out and protect the flame, but Jeremy thought the rain was too heavy and didn't want to go outside. Even though it leaked, the fire wouldn't go out easily. Time passed to day 6. As expected, the fire had gone out. Everything was soaked. Starting a fire was even harder. The two renovated the shelter, adding leaves to block the rain and keep the place warm. Time passed to day 7. Eating ice cream beans every day, Jeremy couldn't take it anymore, so he went out alone to find food. On the way, he discovered a wild taro plant. He brought it back proudly to show Shanika. But this kind had to be cooked. Without fire, bringing it back was useless. Shanika just shook her head in disappointment. Losing the fire was such a shame, and now relighting it wasn't easy anymore. But this was a rare find. Jeremy didn't want to waste it and decided to relight the fire, laying all the firewood out in the sun. But within minutes, thunder and lightning rolled in. Lighting a fire today was impossible. Then heavy rain poured down, lasting for days. The two could only curl up in the tent, enduring hunger and cold. Time passed to day 11. After those miserable nights, Jeremy couldn't take it anymore and cried as he shared his pain with Shanika. He decided to leave and apologized to Shanika for not being able to make it to the end with her. Seeing the man cry, she let him go, but deep down, she was still reluctant and couldn't hold him back. Shanika felt sad too. With all this charm, there were still people who didn't appreciate her. But the challenge wasn't over. She decided to start a fire first. Otherwise, tonight would be too cold. Being alone, she couldn't handle it. For her, starting a fire was easy, and she quickly got it done. Time passed to day 12. Today, she had to cook taro. She cut it up, poured water into bamboo, and cooked. 30 minutes later, food was ready. With that meal and stored fat, she had enough energy to finish. In the next day, she did little else. Besides fixing the shelter, she meditated. Time passed fast. It was day 21. Today was the day to leave. She put out the fire before heading off. Next, she walked to the southwest meetup spot. It was a 3-kilometer path up a steep mountain. The spot was an old bridge. Even with stored fat, most was gone after 21 days. Her whole body was tired and she slowed down. Thankfully, a narrow trail led to the meetup. After hours of struggle, she saw the pickup vehicle. At last, the challenge ended and she got her prize. This girl really was amazing. The wildest survival show ever. A stunning woman, unclothed, surviving 21 days. Even turned a gay man straight. Even better, reached the end, win $100,000. Truly a job where you earn by lying around. The male player is Puma, a mountain man. His survival skills are top-notch. He joined the challenge just for the experience. Even though he is gay, surviving without clothes still excited him. He meant no harm, but he still liked to look. The woman was Julie, 1.95 meters tall, a wilderness survival trainer. She had strong confidence in herself. But now, her biggest worries were leeches and vines, with zero protection. She also feared her height might intimidate the man. When they met, Puma was shocked and felt pressured. He feared she might eat too much. But there was a plus. Maybe no need to build a shelter, just lie in her arms. Julie clearly said she ate a lot, but worked like 2. Then they revealed their tools, a jungle knife and an iron pot. Besides the show's crew, they had handheld cams for personal footage. As the map showed, they were in Borneo rainforest, a land of rough terrain, unstable weather, filled with snakes, spiders, wild boars, and leeches. The difficulty level was hellish, so they decided to go to an open clearing in the forest, close to a stream, but the road was winding and their pace was extremely slow. It wasn't until late afternoon that the two finally arrived. After walking for so long, both were parched. Puma planned to light a fire and boil water first. But Julie thought it was getting dark. The environment here was very harsh. She was very afraid of small reptiles, so she decided to build the shelter first. Then the two started collecting materials, using the tree trunk to build a sleeping platform above the ground. By the time they finished, it was already dark. They were both exhausted, no energy left to start a fire. As they prepared to rest, the sound of wild boars echoed around them. They even circled under the bed, making it impossible to sleep. On the second day, the two made an early plan. Today's task was to start a fire and finish the shelter. Technical tasks like fire starting naturally went to Puma, the mountain man. And the tent roof left unfinished yesterday was up to the tall Julie. But by 5 p.m., Puma still hadn't made any progress. The fire sticks had worn down to the point of breaking, yet no spark appeared. It was getting dark. Puma suggested switching to plan B, temporarily give up on fire starting. Drink stream water directly to avoid dehydration. But Julie thought this was too risky. It could cause stomach pain and end the challenge. She asked Puma to keep trying to make fire, but Puma felt continuing was pointless. The environment was too damp. They should wait for a better time to start a fire. Plus, he hadn't had water for a while, and his body was reacting slowly. The discomfort combined with Julie's strict demands made him feel frustrated. Julie realized it wasn't going well and decided to try making the fire herself. Puma took the opportunity to say he needed a break. He went to the stream to bathe and wash away his fatigue. Because he was so thirsty, he drank straight from the mountain stream. But he didn't plan to tell Julie. She would never accept it. In the end, Julie couldn't get the fire started either. At night, she began to feel dizzy and lightheaded, her whole body burning up. That was a symptom of dehydration. She rushed to the stream to cool down while Puma was lost in his thoughts. On the third day, Julie's condition was very bad, as if she was about to faint. She kept asking for water, which made Puma extremely worried. He decided to follow the stream, to find spring water that filtered through soil, which could be drunk directly. After searching for a while, he finally discovered droplets seeping from the ground near the bank. He quickly called Julie over and used bamboo tubes to collect the drops. After Julie rehydrated, her spirits improved significantly. She drank every last drop. It seemed they still needed fire to have a stable water source. On the fourth day, the two started making fire early in the morning. From morning till afternoon, when both were exhausted, they finally created a spark. Quickly switching to tinder, gently blowing, the flame grew larger and burst into a strong fire. The two were overjoyed. Having fire boosted their morale. Puma was also very grateful to Julie for her persistence. If it were him, he would have given up long ago. They quickly boiled water and drank to their heart's content. After rehydrating, Julie felt full of energy. They finally had time to relax and bathe. After several days together, Puma started to feel something different for Julie. He had always been gay, but now he found himself moved by a woman. He thought it was strange and didn't know what would happen after the challenge ended. Time passed to the 6th day. the fish trap the two had made earlier. Today it finally caught a crab, and they found a few grubs inside a rotting log. This was protein-rich food. These things were enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. The two regained a bit of strength. Julie prepared to improve the shelter, making it more windproof. Puma was in charge of softening the materials. But this guy wandered around and discovered the fire had gone out. This made Julie furious. But it wasn't the time to argue. They needed to quickly restart the fire before nightfall. Coincidentally, thunder roared suddenly. In an instant, rain poured down. Although everything was soaked, Julie was determined to get the fire going. Lighting a fire in these conditions wasn't easy. Puma stood by like a spectator. Even when asked for help, he ignored it, just played with his knife. Frustrated, Julie tossed the drill and went to bed. Puma figured it was pointless and chose to wait out the rain. But it only rained harder. The river level rose, washing away trees. One nearly fell on their shelter, making Julie scream in panic. The two didn't dare close their eyes for even a second. Time passed to the 8th day. Last night, the trees nearly crushed their shelter. Julie still felt scared thinking about it. But the area around the shelter was in ruins. The two decided to clean up first and then reinforce the shelter. Julie worked non-stop, but Puma started to feel unwell after working a little. Headache, chills. At night, things got worse. Chills turned to fever and his whole body ached as he cried out. Julie felt heartbroken watching. She feared he wouldn't survive the night without treatment. Heavy rain raised the river. Fallen trees blocked the way. In the dark, rescue couldn't reach him. He had to endure until morning alone. Time passed to the 9th day. Puma's condition not only didn't improve, but got worse. His whole body convulsed. Luckily, the water had receded. The rescue medical team had arrived early and began checking on him. His temperature was 38.5 degrees Celsius, but it was unclear what illness caused it. He was still somewhat conscious, but his eyes had started to turn red. That was not a good sign. Without timely care, he might not survive. Julie almost cried hearing that. She feared Puma wouldn't make it. With limited supplies, they put him in water to cool him down. This was the only option outside. They then planned to rush him to the closest hospital. Julie was crushed seeing it. Their bond from the journey made her worry deeply. Puma was quickly sent to the hospital. Clearly, he couldn't stay in the game. Now only Julie remained in the field. All day, she hoped Puma would come back, but was let down. Luckily, she had made a fire. She could now sleep warmly tonight. Time passed to day 10. Puma definitely couldn't come back. Now everything had to depend on herself. Luckily, Puma had previously made a fish trap using coconut meat as bait. She hoped the next food source would come from that fish trap. Time passed to day 12. It had been a long time without food, and with the energy spent gathering firewood, Julie felt her body couldn't take it anymore. She urgently needed protein, but the fish trap was still empty. This was truly dangerous. Time passed to day 13. The fish trap was still empty. This made Julie start thinking about giving up. Puma was gone, and it was really hard to keep going alone. Her initial motivation had gradually faded. Now she didn't want to do anything at all. Time passed to day 15. Julie was still trying to hang on, but the fire she had just started went out. Now she had no strength left to light another fire. The string of misfortunes made Julie burst into tears. She missed Puma terribly. If he were still here, she wouldn't be suffering like this. Time passed to day 17. Julie felt unwell from the moment she woke up. Her whole body ached, and even urinating was painful. She suspected she had the same illness as Puma. That made her very anxious. On day 18, the pain became more intense. She couldn't take it anymore and had to choose to withdraw. After this painful experience, she gave a warning to everyone. The rainforest is truly frightening. Don't try it lightly. It ended in failure for both of them. Even though they didn't win the prize, their hunger endurance had greatly improved. You've been waiting a long time, right? That's right. Are you excited? I'm really thrilled. Are you embarrassed? No, I feel comfortable. What about you? I'm fine too. Yeah, it's very convenient this way. Exactly. I think so too. If you don't have money or a girlfriend, then what? Don't worry, this show will show you the way. Strangers of opposite sex are paired to survive for 21 days without clothes. Not only can you make friends with a beauty, but if you persist, you'll also get $100,000. Such a great deal. Are you feeling tempted? The male contestant this time is named Vess. He's 48 years old, a wealthy single man. Joining the challenge clearly wasn't about the money. He owns his own IT company. Don't let his age fool you. He still has a passionate heart and only seeks thrilling experiences. Of course, he couldn't miss such an exciting challenge. The female contestant is Jessie, 28 years old, no money, no boyfriend. She often struggles with self-doubt. Single for a long time, she needed a little excitement and a chance at the prize. When the two met, Wes immediately expressed his excitement about the challenge. A seasoned player, he was bold, which made Jessie feel shy. After learning about Wes's skills through conversation, Jessie couldn't stay calm. She openly expressed her satisfaction with Wes on camera, feeling they would get along well. Then they pulled out the survival gear for this challenge. Besides the jungle knife provided by the filming crew, Jessie brought a fire-starting bowstring. Wes brought a rope. He thought it might be useful, not sure whether to tie someone or for something else. According to the map instructions, they were currently in central Brazil in the middle of a pristine desert. Resources here were scarce. Not only were there strong storms and steep valleys, but also rattlesnakes and Brazilian wasps everywhere. The survival difficulty level was hellish. The two discussed for a long time before deciding to camp in a dry area within the valley. But the road was too difficult, it took hours, and they still hadn't reached their destination. It was getting dark, and rain was coming. They had no choice but to stop and find a big tree to build a temporary shelter. It took over an hour to finish. But then the rain poured down. Starting a fire in a damp environment was extremely difficult. The two struggled all night but couldn't get the fire going. Instead, they exhausted themselves for nothing. On the second day, the two woke up freezing. Today, they continued heading to their destination. On the way, Jesse discovered a snail. With this free source of protein, of course, they had to take it. After several tough hours, the two finally reached their destination. Luckily, there was already a cave. Both were exhausted, having spent a lot of energy. But they couldn't rest yet. Night was coming and they split up tasks. Wes went to look for water. Jesse was in charge of starting the fire, but after 2 hours, still no fire. Wes had found water, but it was far from the camp, so he couldn't bring it back. He returned to camp to figure out another way. When he arrived, Jesse still hadn't started a fire, but Wes didn't blame her. He immediately helped make the fire. With male and female working together, their power doubled. Soon, the fire burst to life. But then Jesse started crying. Today had been too much pressure. She didn't want fire-making issues to leave a bad impression on Wes, otherwise the challenge would be meaningless. Soon it started raining heavily again. Since they hadn't gathered enough firewood, Jesse suggested they take turns collecting wood. She even volunteered to collect a big pile, clearly trying to prove herself. After gathering enough firewood, she took out some protein eggs she had found and cooked a nice meal for Wes. With her performance, Wes was very satisfied. It seemed this girl was very thoughtful, possibly a good friend. After the hearty meal, they finally got a good night's sleep. Time passed to the third day. The two found the cave too small, not enough space for both, so they decided to build a new shelter below. Next was food searching. There were many lizard and jaguar tracks around. No way they'd go after a jaguar. They had to avoid it at all costs. But lizards were a good food source. But these creatures, as if sensing danger, hid under wasp nests. The two didn't dare get close, so they had to search for other food. After walking around, they found nothing. Resources here were far too limited. They had no choice but to return to camp. Time quickly passed to day 7. With days of no food or water, the two moved slowly, looking gloomy. After a bit of work, they had to lie down and rest. And still no food in sight. Misfortunes never come alone. Jaguars started appearing around the camp. This wasn't a good sign. In their current condition, they couldn't win a fight. Better reinforce the shelter quickly. But Wes was too hungry to bear it anymore. Even though going out now was dangerous, he no longer cared. He told Jesse to stay at camp while he went out alone to find food. After searching through the grass for a long time, he managed to catch a small scorpion and a tree grub, but it was enough for the two to have something in their stomachs. At first, Jesse couldn't swallow it, but survival was more important. She shut her eyes and forced it down. Time passed to day 10. Food here was too scarce. Besides lizards, only birds remained. Wes decided to make a bird trap. When a bird lands on the branch and triggers the mechanism, not even magic can save it. Several bird cages were also placed on the ground. Jesse didn't sit idle either. She made a fish trap. Next, they just had to wait for fish to enter the trap. Time passed to day 11. The two got up early to check the traps. Unfortunately, there was no harvest. It had been like this for several days. Jesse cried directly from hunger. But in the dark of night, Wes was helpless too. Jesse cried from night till morning. Wes felt heartbroken watching her. As he was thinking of ways to find food, he suddenly discovered a snake at the camp. He quickly called Jesse. One held a stick, the other a knife. Working together, they finally subdued the snake. Wes jumped for joy. After half a month, they could finally enjoy a hearty meal. After eating, Jesse urged Wes to get some rest. Time passed to day 15. A storm rolled in. Besides curling up in the shelter, the two couldn't do anything else. For several days, the storm almost blew their shelter away. The two stayed up day and night guarding the shelter. Luckily on day 18, the rain finally stopped and the sky cleared, but both had been worn down. Not only had they not slept well, Wes even felt like the flesh on his body was disappearing. To restore energy, they decided to attack a beehive. It's easy to imagine the two running back to camp covered in stings, embarrassed. Wes swore that no matter how hungry he got, he'd never go for honey again. It was just too painful. Mainly because he had no hair, no protection at all. But Jesse didn't give up. Bees aren't very active at night. She decided to use a torch to smoke them out. Before starting, she covered her head with a sack. Then she lit a big fire under the hive and used a stick to break it apart. Bees that fell into the flames were immediately burned, but there were just too many bees. She got stung and screamed, but still gritted her teeth and endured. After relentless effort, she finally broke a hole into the hive. She quickly reached in and scooped out the honey. Tasting it, it was absolutely delicious. She gathered everything and returned. Seeing her return with the honey, Wes was in disbelief. He hadn't done anything but was very eager to eat. Time passed to day 20. Because the extraction point was quite far, 7 kilometers from the cave. That stretch wasn't easy. They had to watch for ants, bugs, and also beware of jaguars. Their pace would surely be slower, so they decided to set off early. Don't think the finish line was right in front of them, but long treks are tiring. After a day of climbing mountains, the two reached a waterfall. This was only halfway. The water here was plentiful, so they decided to set up camp nearby. Just for one night, they simply used palm leaves to build a slanted shelter. The most important thing was starting a fire. This place was near a water source, likely to attract jaguars. Only fire could bring peace of mind. That night, nothing happened. No jaguar sightings either. Time passed to day 21. The two set off early. By now, their bodies were drained. They were running on willpower alone. Wes was older and couldn't keep up with Jesse's pace. He kept calling for her to wait. Jesse was getting annoyed. How could a man not handle just a few kilometers? By late afternoon, just as Wes was about to collapse, they finally reached the cave. As they stepped through the cave, the pickup vehicle arrived. From there, both had completed the challenge. Both had achieved what they came for. What do you think about this? Instead of just admiring, why not take action? The next challenger might be you.